So I have these here butt vases that I purchased from the Dollar Tree that I've been hanging on to for a while now. And I also have this little ceramic bird that I believe I purchased from Family Dollar. I paid $2 for it. Then I also went and purchased a can of this here Rust-Oleum spray paint, and it's a textured paint. It's supposed to look like stone or concrete. And I purchased this for a project on a much bigger level, but I decided that I would practice with these here butt vases first before getting brave and moving on to that bigger project. So to begin, I'm going to be taking one of these here cotton rounds and a little of this nail polish remover, and I'm going to saturate that cotton round with some of that acetone and just go over my little butt vase to try to remove some of that paint and art detail that it has on it so that I could prepare my vase for spray painting. After removing all of that paint detailing from my butt vase, I'm going to be moving on to the remainder of the vases, and I'm going to give them a spray with this here isopropyl alcohol and give them a good wipe down in preparation for being spray painted. So I'm all about improvising, and due to inclement weather, I had to create a little makeshift painting station out of a Lowe's box here and just throw my little butt vases in there so I can go to town spray painting because it is way too cold out. So I feel like small repeat disbursement will make for a better end result and finished product and less of a chance of getting that spray paint to run on me. So I'm going to continue in this fashion with the small spurts until I could achieve full coverage. So here's a quick behind the scenes recap for you. This project was almost going to be a fail and a scratch. That product was going on very gritty, almost like a wet sand or quicksand, if you will, and it was sliding off, and I'm assuming that it was due to the glaze that these ceramic vases had on them, because all I did to prep them prior to painting was give them a little wiping with some rubbing alcohol. So it was taking forever to dry, and so ultimately I went, and as you see, I went over it with a coat of some white chalk paint, and now I'm going to respray paint them to see what happens. So here's a look at the end result and final product. I feel like this is the perfect case of do as I say and not as I do, if you will. Overall, I'm genuinely pleased with the results. However, I feel like in comparison to the lid, if you look at the lid here, this is supposed to be the exact texture and color of the finished result, and mine came pretty close. I feel like the only reason why they're a shade, like a tad bit lighter, is because of the white prime that I had to come in with at the end, that I had to give it that coat of the white chalk paint. So moving forward, I feel like if I had to do it again, I would use like a darker color as a prime base, like maybe a gray or something, and it'll come out the exact color of the lid, or maybe even a shade darker, and it'll look even better. But overall, I feel like, this did the trick, and so now I know, live and learn. But, my opinion, I feel like I wasted a lot of product at the beginning, experimenting, but it was my first time using this product, so I think I did okay. Moving forward on a larger scale, I know I'll have to get much more than one can because this uses a lot of product. It's very thick and gritty and wet, and it does take a long time to dry. But overall, it does look like a textured, concrete or cement, and I'm loving the end result. Now for this DIY upcycle, I have some of these here clothespins left over from another project, and I took them apart and just removed that metal clip. And then I have one of these mason jar Dollar Tree candles that I cleaned out, and I'm going to be repurposing just the bottom. I won't be needing the lid. And my glue of choice to tack these pins down, I'm going to be coming in with a combination of some of this here super glue as well as hot glue for that long-term, short-term hold. So to begin adhesion, I'm going to be using some of this super glue as well as my Gorilla Hot Glue Stick on just the two connecting points that are going to be touching the mason jar. No need to add glue anywhere else except to those two sections that are going to be touching the jar. And then I'm just going to press it up against that glass jar and hold it into place for a few seconds until the glue sets up and dries, and repeat that process for all the rest of the pins. And it just gets pretty repetitious from here on out, following the same procedure over and over, working my way around the entire mason jar. Moving forward with the assembly, I just wanted to say, feel free to put your own spin on this and make it your own. You can stain these pins, you can paint them, you can do whatever. However, I just wanted to keep mine the natural color for a more organic look. And now for that final and last pin to close this portion of the project out. I'm going to be gluing that last one down, and this project took a total of 12 pins per total, really 11 and a half because I only used half of the clip for that final one. So I'm just going to try to keep it simple and cute and as organic as possible by finishing out the rest of this here spool of the sheer ribbon. And I'm just going to wrap it around my little jar here and tie it into a shoelace bow. Now this is where a set of extra hands would come in handy, but since it's just me, I'm going to hope for the best, and I'm going to continue fidgeting and playing with this ribbon until I get it to my liking and then trim off the excess. Now you can add a votive candle or some succulents maybe, but what I'm going to be styling mine with is some of these here spring florals from the Dollar Tree, and then these right here came from the Target Dollar Spot, and I'm just going to be bending that little stem back this way if I want to repurpose them in the future. No harm, no foul. And I'm just going to be tucking them into my vase and calling this a finished project. I am not a floral snob whatsoever, but these florals right here are giving me all of the spring and summertime vibes and feels. Dollar Tree be stepping up their games with their little florals. Don't sleep on them. And paired together with the Target Dollar Spot ones, what? I am here for it. Yes, please. So I recently purchased this little decor plaque from the Dollar Tree, and although it's cute enough on its own, it didn't quite match my decor scheme aesthetically, so I decided I was going to be giving it a little makeover. So to begin, I'm simply just going to remove that shrink wrap to get it prepared for my little upcycling. So my first idea was to remove that insert because it's just a tile that's glued inside, but this thing is tacked down pretty good, and I tried to pry it off of that frame using my scissors and it was a fail. So I decided to leave well enough alone because I didn't want to risk cracking it because it is ceramic. So I'm just going to be going over it and hitting it with some of this here Waverly white chalk paint, and I'm going to try to cover that image that's in the center. So here's a look at what I got going on after going over it with 2 coats of that Waverly white chalk paint, and I wanted it to get it as opaque as possible and cover up that entire image. So then I went and I cut out a vinyl decal using my Cricut cutting machine so that I could adhere it to my tile. From there, I'm going to peel up that transfer tape and try to center that image to the best of my ability right smack in the center of that tile to secure it in place. After going over that image a couple of times with my little Cricut scraping tool, it's time to pick up that transfer tape to reveal the vinyl underneath. And I'm coming in from the corner at a diagonal, carefully, not to damage the tile by picking up or lifting up any of that paint. And I'm just going to peel back slowly. And just like that, guys, I was able to transfer this tile and do a complete 180. And this will complete this project. I'm so happy with the way it came together, and I'm glad that I was able to keep the frame untouched because I'm loving the whole vibe and feels of the lighter shades of wood together with the black and white for the spring. It's giving me all the spring vibes, and aesthetically it goes well with the rest of my decor. This project took no time at all to put together. The longest thing that took was for the paint to dry, and I sped up that process by using my heating tool. This little decor box goes just as well inside of a tier tray as it would displayed on top of a bookshelf. The possibilities are limitless. So for this next DIY upcycling, I had one of these little decor plaques from the Dollar Tree in my craft stash. Now this had a little metal galvanized tag on it with a house. And I'm showing you here is just the Greenbrier product. And I took that tag off to repurpose it on another project. And it just says home is where our story begins on the plaque. So I was left with this plaque and I decided that I'm going to repurpose it. Now I have some of these here giant craft sticks. Now these came from Walmart, but Dollar Tree does carry the tongue depressor size. You'll just have to use a couple of more of them. And so for this project, I'm just going to be taking a couple of these giant craft sticks and I'm going to be adhering them onto my little decor plaque, but not before cutting them down to size. So I'm coming in with my scissors, no special tools required, and I'm just going to go at that giant craft stick and cut it down to the size of my decor plaque. And I'm going to be following suit with the remainder of the giant craft sticks and get them all cut down to size. And then I'm going to come in with my sanding block and smooth out those edges. After getting all my craft sticks cut down to size and going over the edges with my sanding sponge, and I also went over the plaque with the sanding sponge as well in preparation for adhesion of those craft sticks. And my preferred glue of choice for this project is going to be this here super wood glue from the Dollar Tree. From there, I'm just going to be adding a generous amount of that super wood glue to both the top and the bottom of those giant craft sticks. And then I'll be sandwiching in the remaining two craft sticks in the middle in between the top and the bottom for even distribution. And now for the final piece of the puzzle. Well, because I like to share with you the good, the bad, and the ugly here on my channel, I wanted to say that this original glue was a fail. Those craft sticks buckled and bowed, I guess because of the wetness of that glue. And so I ended up having to pop them off and redo them using some Gorilla Hot Glue. So now that I have them all nice and adhered and smoothened out, I went off and I cut out a vinyl decal using my Cricut cutting machine, and it just says Fresh Flower Market Seeds in Bloom. From there, I'm simply just going to be peeling up that transfer sheet, aligning it to the best of my ability, and adhering it down onto that decor plaque. And just like that, our transfer image is complete. And now it's time to proceed to the following portion of this DIY so that we can call it a finished project. So to finish out this project, I'm going to be coming in with some of this here Waverly white chalk paint, and I'm going to be going over that plaque ever so lightly with hardly any product on this brush at all, not to cover up that vinyl. And I just want to give it like sort of like a weathered driftwood kind of look. Now that I have it to where I want it, I'm simply going to be coming in with some of this here Mod Podge, and I'm just going to apply it directly to that board. And then I'm going to come in with that same brush that I used to do the dry brushing technique and go over that vinyl to seal it in. And then I'm going to be calling this a finished project. So now I'm officially giving it the seal of completion, and I'm loving the way that it came together. Notice I didn't give that wood any treatment by staining it or anything because I wanted it to keep the illusion of a bleached driftwood, so to speak, so that it can tie in organically with the color scheme of the rest of my decor in this video.